Ladies and gentlemen, Manchester United fans, and anyone who has ever tried to have a frank conversation with their boss, welcome. We're here to talk about the man who is trying to fix the chaos at Old Trafford, a man who has a very special relationship with the club's billionaire *owner, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. It's a relationship so wholesome, it's based on text messages, gifs, and a very simple three-word phrase, K-off. That's right. According to Sir Jim, his new head coach Ruben Amorim is so honest and direct that if the boss strays into tactical territory, he's told to fet K-off. This is the kind of professional dynamic we can all aspire to. And what does Amorim have to say about this? He says they have this kind of relationship where Sir Jim sends him gifts, joking. He sends gifts, joking. It's really fun, joking. So let's imagine what those gifts are. A celebratory Leo DiCaprio raising a glass after a Europa League win, or maybe a crestfallen Roy Hodgson after a loss. Either way, this sounds like the most entertaining power struggle in football. 1. The man who doesn't want to fail or talk. Amorim is a man of simple pleasures. He would ideally prefer not to speak. In fact, he did more interviews last season than in his entire managerial career previously. The Premier League and Europa League broadcasters literally forced him to talk, which must be a form of torture for him. He even joked he turned 50 rather than 40 on his birthday. We feel you, Ruben. We've all been there. But now he's refreshed. He has a healthy glow from the Chicago sunshine and is ready to start fresh. He's learned a lot. Small things. How to build up to a game. How to sometimes not be so romantic. All these things are gone now. He truly believes he will be a better manager this season, which is a relief, because his record of 16 wins, 10 draws, and 16 defeats suggests the last season was less of a footballing campaign and more of a coin toss. Amorim's press conferences were so draining, he aged a decade in 6 months. It's a new kind of football-related stress that only Manchester United can provide. His previous managerial career was probably just a quiet life of coaching, away from the prying eyes of the media. And then he came to United. Oh, what a mistake. He's not so romantic anymore. That's a shame. I loved the idea of a romantic manager. Now he's just a regular, slightly less emotional one. A 16-10-16 record is pure balance. It's like Amorim was trying to prove a point about neutrality, not win football matches. He wants to stay for 20 years just like Sir Alex. And he truly believes in that. That's not a goal. That's a beautiful, naive dream. 2. The ego, the Excel sheet, and the walk away. Amorim reveals that he has a bit of an ego, which is a rare and completely unheard of trait in a football manager. Walk away is more an ego thing, he says. I'm like that. He even put his job on the line at Sporting CP after finishing a measly 4th in the league. His agent even says he doesn't need to sign a big contract because when things go bad he just puts his place up for discussion. He's maybe really romantic about things. This man is a walking, talking football melodrama. He's not worried about money either. He had his career as a player, and he and his wife had an Excel spreadsheet to track all their finances. The pressure back then was real. Now, I don't feel any pressure about that. It's more like an ego thing. I want to be manager of Manchester United for a while. I don't want to fail. That is the only pressure. So for the first time in years, a Manchester United manager is only worried about his own self-esteem. What a time to be alive. Amorim's agent, you don't need to sign a big contract. That's not an agent, that's a life coach who doubles as a psychologist. He put his job up for discussion after finishing 4th. Most managers would be getting a parade for that. He's so extra. An Excel spreadsheet with his wife to track money. That's not a football manager. That's an accountant with a passion for tactics. The only pressure he feels is not wanting to fail. That is the most relatable sentence a United manager has ever uttered. We all feel it, Ruben. He wants to stay for 20 years. Sir Jim will have to invest in a GIF library for that kind of longevity. 3. The manager with his hands tied. Amorim describes last season with a perfect metaphor, going to a fight with his hands like this. Amorim drops his arms by his side, almost placing them behind the chair he is sitting on. In some moments I just needed to survive to the end, because everything I need to do, I will need to do with a new start. So basically his entire job was to be the human equivalent of a loading screen until the summer transfer window opened. He knew they would struggle, and going to games knowing that they would not be competitive was the hardest part. You cannot think like that. I cannot change 3 guys because I have to try to maintain the team fit to win the Europa League. So, his hands were tied. He lost to Newcastle, Forest, Wolves, Brentford, West Ham and Chelsea in the final weeks of the season. All for the sake of the Europa League. A plan that, as we all know, worked out beautifully. Amorim's job was to be the human equivalent of a buffering video. He just had to wait and hope for the best. He knew they weren't going to be competitive. Imagine being the manager walking into a game and thinking, well, we're definitely going to lose. Let's just try to not get embarrassed. He was saving players for the Europa League. A noble cause that ultimately led to a very predictable defeat. Losing to Newcastle, Forest, Wolves, Brentford, West Ham and Chelsea all in a row is less of a struggle and more of a footballing tour of shame. He's not a romantic anymore, but his hands-tied metaphor is the most poetic thing a manager has said all year. 4. The Code of Conduct and the Exiled Players. Under Amorim, United have a new code of conduct, complete with expectations and possible sanctions. The list is fairly extensive and includes rules on timekeeping and engaging with fans. A new signing, Bryan Mbeumo, was applauded when he was last to arrive for training. This is a new petty level of footballing discipline that we can all appreciate. Amorim says he's not treating them as babies, he's treating them as men with rules. If you don't train in the right way, I have footage to show you, and I show you in front of everybody, so I'm always on top. He's basically a Big Brother contestant, but for football. And then there are the exiles. Alejandro Garnacho, Antony, Jadon Sancho, and Tyrell Malacia are all in Manchester, not on tour. Amorim says, the market is open. There are players who clearly show they don't want to be here, and that is normal. He's confident the financial picture will improve because of United's pedigree, the history, the fans. He's not wrong. They have so much history that they have no choice but to be good again. The new code of conduct is basically a list of things not to do if you want to be a professional footballer. You'd think that would be obvious, but here we are. Mbeumo was applauded when he was last to arrive. I love that. It's the ultimate passive-aggressive "you're late" move. Amorim has footage to show them if they train badly. He's not a manager. He's a documentary filmmaker who only films bad training sessions. Exiled players who clearly show they don't want to be here. He's talking about them like they're pets who won't go for a walk. Jadon just wants a new challenge, and that challenge is apparently not training with us. He's not just a manager, he's also a therapist for players who want a new challenge. He says he understands it. What a nice guy. Closing thoughts. A new dawn. A familiar struggle. So, there you have it. Ruben Amorim, a man who sends gifts, has an Excel spreadsheet, and is so romantic he'll put his job on the line. He's not so stubborn. He's just trying to build a base. And he's not so concerned about other teams, because he has his own issues to deal with. Will his honesty, his code of conduct, and his ability to tell his billionaire boss to FC plus cut off be enough to turn United around? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure, it's going to be the most entertaining era in Manchester United's recent history. And remember, when a football manager says he's not stubborn, it usually means he's about to make some very stubborn decisions. See you next time.